All right, should we start talking about a little bit of wrestling? No, let's do AEW instead of talking about a little wrestling. No, I can't say that because there was some wrestling on the programs this week. It was interspersed with foolishness, but it was there. And of course, as we mentioned, this is a catch-up show, and we know some of you have seen the pay-per-view. Some of you have not seen it. You want to wait for our review. We're going to bring you up to date on their television programming last week. And then, as I mentioned at the top of the program, I will have a chance to view it, and we will be back with the drive-through in, less than 24 hours after they hear this, for heaven's sake, if we think.
If we think.
Or, well, if I was starting to say if it works, but we think we're going to do this. Dynamite started out last Wednesday with Bryan Danielson and Rocky Romero. And help me out. Somebody said that Rocky Romero had wrestled for AEW before, but it had to be on one of the YouTube things or so. We haven't seen him on the main show, right?
I don't recall ever seeing him on the main show. I could be wrong. It may have been early on because he's aligned with New Japan, isn't he?
Yes. And again, Bryan Danielson comes out. We got star power. They're in a big arena. They got a good-looking crowd. Here comes Rocky Romero. He's brand new. He's a blank slate. You can tell people, because I know that the New Japan fans and people who keep up with everything going on everywhere are going to know who Rocky Romero is. But for this environment, for this television program, it's the first time you've seen him. So they got a blank slate. They can tell you or show you what they want to tell you or show you about this guy. He's very talented. He comes out with Pockets and the Best Friends. So is that supposed to, in their mind, get him over to the audience? Instead, it pigeonholed him as being a guy who hangs around with the mascot and the guy, not the guy whose mother drives the minivan. He's gone. We haven't seen him in ages. He got hurt.
No, we have the CV Offie of the Best Friends.
We have CV Udi and
Yuda.
And Udi and Chucklefuck Taylor. But anyway, he comes and this is a recurring theme on the program for some reason. These fucks come out with everybody. And it wasn't needed. Romero is serious. He's a good-looking athlete. He's got some charisma. He's got some, heel to him, the swagger. Excrement had to fill in the background by telling some Who Shot John story about why that these people are together involving Japan some kind of way. But that's you probably got some new fans that haven't watched your program but might want to see Bryan Danielson, so you bring this other new good-looking guy out with goofballs. Anyway, there could have been a 90-second package putting him over as a star, showing highlights of him in Japan, beating people. But instead, he comes out with the mascot. And he's fighting one of the most popular guys on the roster. So he comes out with baby faces in his corner, but he acts like a heel. Is that what you saw?
I don't know how much he was acting like a heel. I thought he would have been a heel until he came out with Orange Cassidy and crew.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's got the smile, he's got the swagger, he's a good-looking guy, he's wrestling Bryan Danielson. So you would be convicted in open court of being a heel with that evidence.
Besides the fact that everyone loves Bryan Danielson and everyone loves his wrestling ability, couldn't you actually say if you were watching all of this on mute, Bryan Danielson's the one that comes across like the heel and everything?
True, with the joint manipulation and the rough stuff and everything. Yeah, if you were listening to it deaf.
Yeah, he's not smiling. He's the one out there just always staring a hole through the other guy. He's the one who looks like a determined... I mean, we never saw this version of him in WWE.
Well, Matt Hardy was in the front row where he belongs, but he was shadowing Pockets. But anyway, I liked Rocky Romero's work. He hit a Hurricane Rana on the floor, but immediately tossed Danielson back in and hit a move, trying to win, got a 2 count. He reversed that. Danielson tried to give him the belly to back off the top rope, and he reversed it, came down into a press. Danielson did the gotch lift. Everybody sold stuff. They traded some nice submissions. They were jockeying for position. They're both very good mat wrestlers. But then, as suddenly, they were jockeying for position. Danielson rolled into a half crab and Rocky tapped out. Out of nowhere, as they say. Modern wrestling desperately needs Eddie Graham. They need a good Bill Dundee. They need a good finish man. Because all these finishes come out of nowhere and they're flat as piss. And it's like, and we're going to see it here again before the show's over. They'll do all the moves they've planned to do, and then somebody will just win somehow. There's no build to the... They cheer when it happens. But you know what I'm saying? From watching wrestling finishes for 30 years, as you have, I've only done it for 50, used to build to the finish. There was the things, and all of a sudden now it's just, they're rolling around and suddenly somebody grabs a hold.
That's the UFC influence on wrestling. That changed the way guys saw submissions and how you can use submissions and how quickly you can apply something and get a quick tap. That was the big change. When was the last time you saw a referee lift a wrestler's hand up in the air 3 times? This is the way they do it now.
But it doesn't have to always be a submission. Can't somebody get beat 1, 2, 3?
I agree with you.
And can we build it up to where I just think of all the great matches I've seen in the past where they're going home, but you don't know when because they're building and building and you can't, oh my God, right now it happened. Instead of, oh, wow, that was a big thing. And now they're rolling around and now they're rolling around and now they're rolling. Oh, he won. I don't know. Anyway, that was that match. But I like Rocky Romero. I wish they'd do more with him. I wish they'd not have him aligned with the goofball squad. But otherwise than that, this was as good or better as anything you'll see on a WWE program. Which is why that they should be more worried than they are that they've lost a lot of these fucking guys that have suddenly... You couldn't find a quality wrestling match. You could find a quality fucking spot fest, but you couldn't find a quality wrestling match on AEW for a long time. Now they're having more than the WWE is because they've got the guys the WWE used to have that could do them. Should we move on?
I'll just say good match. This is what I thought it would be with Danielson when we talked about months and months ago, him leaving WWE, that he probably just wants to have things that he'll enjoy and just wrestle all sorts of guys, all sorts of styles. He's been wrestling nonstop against everyone on TV. The fans are really into him. The only big takeaway from the match, and of course we're not Orange Cassidy fans, and I'm not, but when he's the thing you see facing the camera, so you're watching this serious match with these guys going back and forth, and just he's standing there facing you, it kind of takes away some of the importance of the match to me.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why, if they got to deal with New Japan, and they just announced on the pay-per-view that Tomohiro Ishii will be making his AEW debut on Dynamite with the Best Friends. Why are the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy aligned with Okada's group? Makes no sense, but those are my thoughts.
Well, we didn't have to wait long to see our favorite angle play out even further. The Dinner Circle and America's Top Team. Because the Dinner Circle were making their entrance, and suddenly they're attacked on the ramp by American Top Team and Dan Lambert, and just chaos breaks out. And there's so many people out there, I couldn't tell which one it was. One of the shooters, one of the MMA guys on America's Top Team, threw 7 strikes to Jericho's forearms. And it looked like he was either trying not to hurt Jericho's forearms or not to bruise his forearms on Jericho's forearms, because nobody can throw a punch anymore. When they get heat, the guy that they're beating up just goes down and covers up in a ball and doesn't open up anything. And whoever's on top of him just windmills in the direction of what's covered up. Oh boy. But it was a long heat. Nobody tried to stop it. They had kendo sticks out, trash can lids. It moved at a glacial pace for all the reasons we've mentioned. It's phony when nobody's trying to stop it. It's phony when everybody's just letting everything go. No wrestlers come out, no referees come out, no security comes out. The heels just set Jericho up, And they set it up where Lambert is on the ropes and the heels hand Jericho to Lambert and he jumps off and I use power bomb in quotes, right? It looked like me trying to power bomb somebody, which it was supposed to because it's Dan Lambert. He's supposed to be the klutz. But they power bombed Jericho. So they had Dan Lambert power bomb Chris Jericho off the ropes through a table. Corey, you remember when I did that to Bullet Bob Armstrong? And you know, when Bobby Heenan did that to Dick the Bruiser in Indianapolis, boy, they almost had a riot. And then while Jericho's laying there selling and the rest of the dinner circle is still laying in the aisleway for however long it's been since they were left there so that they could beat Jericho up, and Scorpio Sky and the other Page cut promos standing there over him, and then Lambert puts a Boston Crab on Jericho and the heels grab Jericho's hand and make him tap out. Again, nobody trying to help, nobody trying to stop, no officials. It's the wrong kind of heat angle because you're just having to sit there and just watch it. And you're like, what the fuck? This is obviously not real because nobody else is upset. They're allowing this all to go on, but it's going on forever. And it's obviously contrived to get heat on Dan Lambert so that Jericho can beat him and then somehow beat my surrogate personality so that he can win his big match again. I don't know. There you go.
Don't say it like that, like you're tossing it over to me.
I did. I tossed it. I fucking lobbed it. I sidearmed it to you.
All right.
There it is.
Like
what
Terry
did you
Leach.
think?
What did I think? You know what I think. The feud's garbage. Jericho's garbage. This thing went on forever. I didn't like any of this. This is the worst thing on the show outside of like the Matt Hardy family shit, but usually that's just popping up here and there. The Jericho thing is every week, and it's endless every single week, and it's awful. I'm at the point now where I wish massive success for Fozzy. If only Fozzy could really have something that moves a lot of units. If only they can come up with a song that really sells. Not that people know the words to, but that really makes a lot of money. And Jericho becomes in demand as a recording artist. That is our only hope to get him away from AEW.
What about if a Rock gets him into movies?
What about if a Rock gets him right between the eyes?
All right. Speaking of right between the eyes, the next match I did not pay close attention to. It was Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Reba against Ty Conti, Anna Jay, and Thunder Rosa. And I would watch Thunder Rosa against Britt Baker in a match that doesn't have any thumbtacks in it. But a 6-girl tag team match when we'd had problems over the past few days and packages were waiting to be packed, I saved some time. But I do have one observation. Why is Reba, who has been a wrestler for quite a while, but in the story that they were telling, she's Britt Baker's flunky, and when she used to be forced into wrestling, I remember this from several months ago, she would act like she didn't know what she was doing. Well, now she's wrestling like a fucking professional, when the story before was she wrestled like a sidekick. So I didn't know what was happening there.
Maybe she's going to QT's gym. Anybody
She's
could be a wrestler.
She's going to the Nightmare Factory. That's what it is. All right, Anthony Bowens versus Jungle Boy. And Max Caster, of course, wrapped him to the ring and made fun of Jungle Boy not being able to talk, which he sometimes strikes a nerve, as Dennis Condrey would say. Here's the thing. I didn't even critique this match as a match. It was a nice match between two young guys that don't have a lot of experience. And then again, out of nowhere, Jungle Boy got the snare trap and won it. They don't try to come up with a finish anymore. They just, again, do all of their moves. And then here, I'll catch you in a hold. Okay. They don't actually lay out and build a finish anywhere. But the problem with Jungle Boy is that when he's with someone a veteran heel that's clearly a heel and is a veteran and knows how to lead a match, he's fantastic. His talent, his specialness is that beautiful, gorgeous face, selling from and fighting back from underneath. You shine him a little bit at the start just so he doesn't look like a schlub, and then some way or another you heel him and cut him off, and then you get heat on him and give him hope spots and let him fight from underneath and let the people get the sympathy and build that to where they want to see him make that comeback. And then when he blows a comeback and does all his stuff, it's fucking great. And then you need to go home because then you're in danger of him becoming a superhero again after he's had the shit kicked out of him and just disregarding everything and doing, you want him to still look like he's had the shit kicked out of him. So after he blows the big comeback, you go to the finish, whatever it may be. He's brilliant in those situations. But when he gets in the ring with either the fucking, his lucha partner, Luchasaurus, and his Jurassic bunch, and they get with the Harley Boys, and it's just chaos, or with another young green guy, it's great moves, but it's just moves, and it doesn't further him any. So, that's what you get. He's great when he's with a veteran, and it is what it is when he's not. But then Bobby Fish hit the ring and kicked the shit out of him after he beat Bowens, and that was the best 60 seconds of the segment because Fish looked like he meant business. What did I miss in this one?
It was an all right match. I thought the rap was pretty clever, made fun of the fact that Jungle Boy's girlfriend is hanging out with the Dark Order. Got a reaction from the crowd, so they understood the reference. I was surprised that Jungle Boy is getting more of a gruff look now. I mean, not really gruff. He's growing his facial hair. But like you said, I'm not going to call his face that gorgeous, beautiful face or whatever the fuck you said.
That facial hair kind of looks like somebody glued Cartman's pubes onto his chin, but go ahead.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if all of a sudden this is going to be the new hard Jungle Boy, but, he's built like Sean Simpson, so I think there's only so much you could do right now. You kind of have to treat him like a babyface working from underneath, like you said. But the fans are into him. Bobby Fish has been used pretty well so far in AEW, and this kind of ties into other things with Bobby Fish. And, all things considered, this is a good segment on the show. Can't complain.
I'll complain about something coming up. They did what I was afraid they were going to do. They did a package out of the CM Punk Eddie Kingston confrontation, interview / argument. They excerpted it and showed some of it, but they just gave us 15 minutes of a 6-girl tag, and they couldn't roll that 8 or 9 minutes in its entirety since it was the best thing that's been on a wrestling program in ages. I'm just...
And it was on Friday night in front of 500,000 people.
Exactly. But that was followed by Wardlow in a rare singles match out of nowhere against Wheeler Yuta. And he comes out again with
Yuta.
pockets. Yuta. Yeah, you too. With pockets and the best friends and the alien Chris Flatlander. So now at least they're baby faces fighting a heel, but this is the multiple appearances of the whole Pockets gang. So anyway, basically on this program, the preliminary jobbers are in everybody's corner or aligned with them in somehow. But Wardlow made quick work of this. But did you notice he hit 4, not only power bombs, but 4 of the best looking, wickedest, fastest power bombs that I've seen in a long time and didn't cover the guy at all. But then he went and hit his move out of the corner that's so sloppy that when it's fucked up, you can't even tell what it is, or when it's right, you can't tell what it is. And that was the 1, 2, 3. Wouldn't Wardlow have looked like a goddamn beast if he'd have just put his foot on him after that 4th power bomb instead of taking him over to the corner, setting him up, giving a thumbs up? I thought he was going to do the Asiatic spike, but somehow he drops the part of the guy off the turnbuckle and hits him with a knee, and you can't tell. And we don't know, and nobody knows how to take the bump. What the fuck?
I never thought I would say this, But can someone show Wardlow some 89 Sid?
Yes. And that is the first time that's ever been said, I think, before ever. Can someone learn something from Sid? But it's applicable.
I like Wheeler Yuta's gimmick that he wears a coat.
Okay.
That appears to be his gimmick. He wears a coat. I don't know what else his thing is.
Well, hey, maybe he's cold. I don't know. Maybe he's got bad blood circulation.
Those power bombs look great, though. Like, if there was, we don't see enough Wardlow, and we never see him, at least on TV. I don't know what goes on in the other world. We never see him have squash matches. This was great. Other than they should have, like you said, should have been power bomb, pin, looks like a monster, but he looked great here.
But then, of course, they can't leave well enough alone, because suddenly here comes Matt Hardy and The Blade and Isaiah Cassidy. Basically, here comes half of a bunch of tag teams. Did you know that Matt Hardy doesn't have Jeff, Blade doesn't have Butcher, Isaiah Cassidy doesn't have Mark Quinn, old Chucklefuck Taylor lost Trent. So half of a bunch of tag teams come down, and Hardy and his guys beat up all the rest of the baby faces. And then this is the spot that went around on Twitter. The idea of this in these feeble minds that came up with this was that to get heat on Pockets for their big confrontation coming up, Matt Hardy's going to get a chair, and he's going to put the chair, he's going to horse collar Pockets with the chair, so the chair is around his neck, and then he's going to give him the twist of fate where the chair will just act like a guillotine, right? Most fearsome move you could ever think to do to a motherfucker. So this is why I went out on Twitter, and then it was repeated in slow-mo so you could grasp it just in the awfulness and horribleness of it. Hardy opens the chair up and is holding it there, and Pockets bent over, grabbed the chair with his hands on each side, and gently pulled it over his own head and put it around his own neck, so that then Matt Hardy could give him the twist. And when he gave him the twist of fate, the chair was fucked up sideways, and it just kind of crumpled in a heap. Wasn't even really the super fucking stone cold stunner thing and you would fly away from. It was. And then the heel jobbers just left the babyface jobbers laying there, and nobody helped. Nobody cared. Every segment, every time somebody gets in the ring, it ends with a long beat down with everybody involved, and nobody tries to do anything. And again, when everything is chaos, you have no chaos. It becomes the norm. When you have 12 7-footers, you don't have any giants because it becomes the norm. And this is why that nobody can remember these angles the following day, because they're constant and everybody does the same fucking thing after every match. So there you go. Did you see the horse collaring of Pockets' head?
Yeah, and it's funny you bring this up. I got confused. We saw so much wrestling over the last few days in between all the production issues. I forgot what botches were Wednesday night and what botches were Friday night.
No, this was the botch fed, because also was this the one where, no, maybe it wasn't, because that idiot Peter Avalon was the one that took yeah. But they also tweeted a clip from something of Pockets running across the ring for his Superman punch and jumping up, and there's that Peter Avalon standing on the bottom rope, leaning his chin in, and you can see on his face he was squinched up, ready for this punch, like he was standing in front of Mike fucking Tyson, pissed off on coke. It's Orange Cassidy. He couldn't fucking bust a goddamn bubble to begin with this thing. But he threw the punch and went a foot underneath the guy's chin. I just bumped the microphone. He went a foot.
It didn't sound like
the guy's chin. And it didn't sound, and the guy flew away, even though he wasn't even anywhere near him. And the AEW fans, and then Matt Hardy. This was the one, Hardy, after that was Friday. That was the botch on Friday. Hardy goddamn drops an elbow on Pockets and misses him by a foot. He's laying there motionless, and he still missed him with an elbow drop. And then they tried to, he was doing that on purpose to act like he did something behind the referee's back. Since the referee's back was turned anyway, then he wasn't going to see it to begin with. But why would you not hit your downed opponent with a move after he's already been knocked out with brass knuckles? You would just hit him with it. You wouldn't fake a noise on the mat. I don't. And again, the AEW fans go, well, the camera angles. That's a bad camera angle. No. What about the fucking 5,000 people on all four sides of the ring, including at ringside that are 15 feet away that can see plainly? That never happened before in history. Well, it did, but not that often. It's not camera angles. Does all these people now think that the guys that it used to look like they're killing each other is because of the camera angle?
That is a crazy argument. But when you see WWE, if you grew up in this era and you see WWE where on every single move they switch the camera angle so you don't see anything. When on every single replay they slow it down until things are about to happen and then they speed it up as fast as they can. I mean, you may be stupid and think that, but it's a ridiculous argument. It's just sloppiness and unprofessionalism.
Is it the guys that have been in the WWE system and think, well, those camera switches will protect me, but nobody else does those camera switches? And in history, nobody had the budget to have a fucking multiple camera shoot that could do those camera switches like that on Moment of Impact. So you had to make it look good.
I understand that's what JYD said to Watts after the Wrestling 2 match. It was the camera angle.
It was the camera angle. Yeah, it was the fact that we had a camera there to begin with. That's what the problem was. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So after that deal, we come back from a break, and one of the most exciting 90 seconds of the program was CM Punk and Eddie Kingston yelling at each other in the parking garage with people trying to keep them separate, and one would break loose and run toward the other, but they never actually touched each other. But it looked like they were fucking pissed. Everybody was serious. Nothing actually happened, and it was more exciting than the interaction between all these job guys that doing all these phony heat angles.
It was more exciting than every single one of these things that happens on every one of these AEW shows up and down the card where no one runs in and breaks anything up or saves it. We've now seen Punk and Kingston go at it on Rampage. Immediately there were referees in between them and made it more exciting. The place popped every time one of the guys would break away from the referees and go after the other guy. Same thing here. Punk and Kingston get nowhere near each other. All sorts of people are trying to separate them. At one point, Kingston makes a break and just starts running, and it's great.
Yeah.
It makes it more exciting as opposed to all these things happen. There's an attack. There's no one around. What's gone on?
And I love it when they attack somebody in the back and the cameraman and yes, a cameraman, even in wartime with the news cameras, they're trained to shoot whatever. But that doesn't mean that there's nobody watching on a monitor in the same building, probably 50 feet away somewhere, that could make their way over there and do something about it. Anyway, did you like the Lio Rush and Dante Martin versus Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty tag team contest?
I loved it. Honestly,
what did you love about it?
This is where you and I are going to be completely on opposite pages. I am a fan of Lio Rush. I like every single thing I see this guy do. He's a great heel promo. He's great at ringside. I know he's small, so if you can look past the fact that he's small, but he's in a company with lots of small guys, even the way he works is different than what other guys do. The way he tries to get away from a move before it happens, his quickness.
Yeah, scampering away and going at odd angles and everything.
He's creative. He's a creative and clever guy in the ring, and I think Dante Martin's a future star. I like this. I actually did like this.
I will say, when they say that Lio Rush is Dante Martin's mentor, but he looks like his little cousin that he's picked up after school and is taken to get him ice cream. Dante Martin's 6 feet tall. So I have a hard time buying the child-sized Lio Rush as a mentor. But as we mentioned, Dante Martin, incredible physical attributes that he has, that grace and the leaping ability. He needs to be older. He needs facial expressions, a personality, a physique, etc. But what he has, you can't teach. It has to be natural. those other things probably will come with age and experience. Him and Moriarty, who don't look bad. They did a million things fast, but they had the sense to stop every once in a while and get an ovation. But this is modern wrestling. It's smaller guys going 100 miles an hour doing a synchronized routine, and then Dante Martin stands out because he has that amazing something athletically. But as far as a match, you're watching individual guys do a performance. None of these guys could put a match together. The hot tag was 2 simultaneous cold tags on either side of the ring. There's an extended 4-way. The corpse ref was involved, so there were no rules, and the 4-way just went on forever. And by the way, I have never seen a son of a bitch more unequipped for and or disinterested in his job, or even looking like he's making an effort at his job, than Rick Knox is. And I mean, can they get somebody younger that can keep up with the guys? Because he's got to be in his 50s. And I'm just wondering if is he just blowing up, or what's the issue?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I mean, it would be tough to find someone with that pro wrestling gorilla pedigree like a Rick Knox has, or as you put it, my new favorite nickname, the corpse ref.
The corpse ref. He should be produced by Tim Burton. Why was Leo Rush wearing a top with the word moth, M-O-T-H, on the back? Is that like your cruiserweight, flyweight? He's a moth weight?
I don't know. I thought maybe he likes bugs.
At several points in the match, it started looking like they were just making shit up on the fly. And the other guy wouldn't know how to take it, and they would just fall in kind of a heap because it was going so fast. There's a lot of talent here and a lot of ability, and they're trying hard, but they just... Whichever team was supposed to be the faces or heels, you had no idea. They just kept taking turns as to who was in charge. And then at one point, Leo Rush and Dante Martin, who are partners, both go to the top rope to do something together off of it, but Seidel runs and jumps up and Hurricane Rana's Leo Rush off into the ring, and Dante Martin had to stand there and wait for Moriarty to come and jump up and throw him off. And they did some 4-way kung fu movie shit. And then suddenly Dante Martin hit his moonsault. 1, 2, 3. And that's a very fancy move, and he seems to be nailing it with regularity. But it's just, this would be like a match that you would have at a spot show in a training school, where you would say, okay, guys, go and put your match together and have it, and then we'll break it down afterwards. And then you would tell them, don't do about half of what you did, but concentrate on the good shit you did do, and do more of that, and here's how. But this was not... For TV, it was something to keep people's attention, but, it was just crazy.
When you see a wrestler with the amazing leaping ability of a Dante Martin, for instance, do you think they start the day out with a healthy breakfast?
I think they do, Brian. I think they do, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't thinking about breakfast right now. But I'll tell you what, now that you've got it on my mind, I'm getting hungry, and the best way to break that fast, folks, however long you've been fasting, if it's been several days, if I were you, I'd ease into this. But if you want to break your fast with healthy, delicious food, our friends at Magic Spoon, do you believe in magic in your breakfast bowl? I sang that last week. You can go to magicspoon.com and see all the tremendous flavors that are involved. Cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, cinnamon, cookies and cream, and maple waffle. 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving, 140 calories a serving. Keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb. We're not going to say anything bad about these people. They won't even intimidate you, much less hit you over the head with their magic spoon, because they're nice people that spread happiness and joy and
magic
around the world. And you would think that there's some type of magic leprechaun dust on this magic spoon because it just makes you feel good. And if you go to magicspoon.com/Jim and use the promo code Jim, J-I-M, at checkout, when you grab a custom bundle of the cereal, you can pick the flavors and types that you want. If you use the promo code Jim at checkout, you can save $5 off their order. And Magic Spoon, another one of these confident folks, possibly even arrogant, that they're so confident in their product. 100% happiness guarantee. If you don't like it, for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. We might come behind them and ask a few questions because it reflects on us too, but they won't ask you anything.
What kind of questions you want to ask?
What the fuck are you doing? You trying to make us look bad? You want a fucking fist in your face? Get that fucking cereal back and shove it down your gullet. That's the kind of questions I would ask.
So when you said there may be intimidation earlier, you meant from you, not necessarily from Magic
Not from the sponsor, but from this reflects on me too. If you're going to be the first person in the world that didn't like Magic Spoon, don't use my promo code. Anyway, but remember to get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/Jim. Use the code Jim to save $5 off at checkout. And by the way, now the cookies and cream and maple waffle are back permanently.
All right.
But still don't wait because they could be sold out. You never know. Supply chain issues. They've got, they don't use the Keebler elves to make this stuff. They got a set of elves that they found in Teterboro that have an extensive background in cereal making. They're not just these, the generic elves. They make cookies. They make little snack cakes, they make cereal, they make all kinds of. These elves are cereal specialists.
The Dundee elves.
The Dundee elves from Teterboro, New Jersey. Anyway.
All right, well, let's get away from Teterboro. And we said that Magic Spoon is obviously guilt-free. Was the rest of Dynamite guilt-free?
Well, no, it wasn't. I will elucidate further. And also, Miro did a promo, by the way, about Bryan Danielson. And it's very good. Again, at some point, don't they have to bring in either his wife or God, one or the other?
You would think so. Yeah, you would think so.
His wife might be easier, but I think God would get over better. But who would they get to play God?
The only other thing that sucks about it does seem like they're setting it up for his wife to come in eventually. And if not, fine, it's just promos. But I feel like Miro doesn't need anybody. I feel like he's great on his own with nobody around him.
Well, I like that he's referring to the unseen wife, that people know who it is, but still she's not in the picture and etc. I like that part, but I think he's got to produce God sooner or later. Because I think that may be the match they're building to, because he's cursed God. He's asked him why he forsook him. He's threatened him. He's given him ultimatums. I don't know whether God would be putting up with this or not. I think God needs to do a run-in at the next pay-per-view. Start this new angle. Right. Anyway, a match that I was convinced I was going to like. And I was so convinced that I had to take a break after the rest of the show. I wanted to be refreshed and everything before I watched. So I took a little break. I breathed through my mouth. I got calm and everything over all this stuff. I said, this is going to be good. Dax Harwood against Pac. And I noticed at the top, Pac is still said to be 1/3 of Death Triangle with the Lucha Brothers, right? Even though Pac is a babyface here against Dax and has been a babyface. And of course, Death Triangle, classic babyface name. But now that the Lucha Brothers are babyfaces because they're obviously facing FTR at the pay-per-view, I'm thinking, okay, it seems like Dax would win via a little fuck finish here to heat up the situation with his stablemates facing FTR at the pay-per-view. One would think. One would have thought wrong. Here's the thing. With Pac, I have come to determine, you know how I've said that some guys, depending on their opponent, if they're in with one type of person, they're great. If they're in with another type of person, they're not. I said early on with Malachi Black, he was still trying to figure his stuff out, but that he was a good wrestler. But when he started trying to play the mind games, doing the sports entertainment, then he started backing up, took me out of it. Pac has a switch that somebody with attention deficit disorder is manning. Because Pac in the same match can look like one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of the business or a complete fucking moron, and you never know what it's going to be. And it's all over the place. He looks great physically. He looks like a badass. They started out wrestling. They locked up and struggled like men. And they went through all kinds of nice, smooth pro wrestling spots and still leaving room for things to breathe. And, you know, they did the stand and trade forearm things, but at least they looked good. And then for the break spot, of course, Pac had to do a dive for a break spot. Why haven't we thought of that before? That's brilliant. He doesn't need to do dives. He looks like a wrestler, but he can do them, so he did do it. There was the break spot. Okay, we're good so far. We come back. The guy on the switch has flipped the switch. They're fighting on the top turnbuckle forever. At one point, they're standing there kind of motionless. But then Pac gives Dax a brain buster. We were just talking about nobody doing a brain buster, and somebody mentioned Dax does a lot of them. But Pac does a brain buster off the top rope onto Dax. And yes, he sells and is a slow cover, but it's a 2 count. What would be a finish now if somebody actually had one? A chainsaw?
That was my biggest problem with the match, was there were some terrific and clear finishes, which just set up the next one.
Which just set up the next one. And also, it may be that we said that brain busters are not actually dangerous to your head for concussion business, right? And pile drivers and everything. It's marks that think that. If you know what you're doing, your head never touches anything. But what this did come close to doing, or I don't know how Dax feels, this is a dangerous move for your back. Because from that height, you are landing on that ring that has maybe 2 inches of give, maybe 3 inches of give in the middle part, and then you're stopping dead because that's as far as it's going to give, and you could fuck your fucking vertebrae up in your back taking a properly delivered brain buster from that height. So that could fuck his back up, and for a 2 count. And then everything slowed down. Obviously after a brain buster off the top, but it slowed down. They had momentum going, and it starts slowing down. Pac hits a missile drop kick off the top rope to Dax's back, knocks him forward almost to the ring post, and doesn't cover him. He bends over and does the shitty grab leg and turn him to the right spot so that he can go to the top again. But then when he goes to the top, Dax rolls out of the way. And now all momentum has been lost, and they try to do some more stuff. And Pac again, remember we just had on the drive-thru a discussion about the Irish whip and shooting guys off and when it looks good and when it looks lazy. Pac does the head palm shoot off to Dax twice, and Dax goes with it. And I say head palm shoot off, a bunch of guys are doing it. Archers was doing it. I don't know where this came from or why anybody wasn't immediately screamed at and cussed at and told they'd be fired if they ever did it again in whatever company this started in. They take their hand and just put it behind the guy's head and wave their right arm, and the guy takes off running and hits the ropes and comes back. And I think back to when I learned not to do something like that from Bobby Eaton in 1982 when he told me what Big Bill Dromo said to him in 1977. Dromo's a babyface. Bobby's a heel working for Goulas. He goes to grab Bill Dromo and run his head in the turnbuckle. And he grabs him with his right hand and he draws back and he goes to run him in the turnbuckle and Dromo won't go. And he tries to do it again and Dromo won't. He's stock still. And he looks up and Dromo says, "I'm a big man. Use 2 hands." And when he reached up with his left hand, then automatically they're working again, and Dromo goes into the turnbuckles head first. It's not that fucking difficult. Anyway, so then Tully pulls Dax out of the corner, and Pac hits the turnbuckle, and Dax hits a nice brain buster. So now we're seeing all kinds of them. Gets a 2 count. Immediately after being brainbustered, Pac is immediately back on offense, drops behind on a suplex, hits a super kick, waits 12 seconds, doesn't cover him, reaches down and tells Dax to roll over, which he does. So then Pac goes to the top, which takes another 10 seconds to get up there so Dax can stop him. Dax gives him a belly to back off the top. They both sold it, but nobody covered anybody. And after taking a belly to back suplex off the top rope, Pac, as Dax charges at him, Pac is instantly 100% and hits a German suplex, and then all the momentum stops again. I have to feel that Dax was overruled on a variety of things. I've never seen a match involving either Dax or Cash that made less sense than this. Dax hit a clothesline and a slingshot powerbomb that looked lovely. Got a 2
awesome.
count.
That was
looked
great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That should be somebody's finish, and it'd play on what Tully used to do. But they did more back and forth. And then at one point, Pac backslid Dax. Dax kicked out of the backslide, and immediately Pac just got an STF of some kind on him, and Dax gave up instantly. Instantly. Out of nowhere. This is the third time on a 2-hour program that somebody just grabbed a fucking hold and somebody tapped out of nowhere. Can anybody come up with a finish? So then, of course, there has to be an angle. Cash hits the ring and starts getting heat on Pac. Pac covers up and didn't open up for anything. The lights go out. They come back on. Malachi Black and Andre Olio are in the ring, joining the heat. But then the Lucha Brothers come and hit the ring and make a big comeback. But at the same time, Cody is coming down the arena stairs. The Lucha Brothers came from the back down the entranceway. Cody is taking forever to get to the fucking ring. And finally he gets there and he's all over Malachi Black. And the babyface has cleared the ring. And by this point, I'd forgot what match was this on the pay-per-view. Was this match an angle originally supposed to heat up? Because now we've just crossed fucking programs to the point where I don't know what the fuck's going on.
The match on the pay-per-view ended up being Cody and Pac against Andrade and Malachi.
What started here was FTR and Lucha Brothers. They were going to juice that up. It's a match between Dax and the Lucha Brothers as partner. By the time they get finished, they're promoting a tag team match. And I don't know where the first guys ended up. It's a goddamn... Just do an angle with everybody on the card. Just have 26 people go out and fight. And then you've covered everything in one segment.
The crowd popped big when the Lucha Brothers ran out. And then just out of nowhere, there's Cody.
And then they saw Cody.
Why? Where was Cody? Is there any reason why Cody was coming through the crowd all of a sudden? Where was he? Was he getting a pretzel? Apparently. Where the fuck was Cody that he was coming down through the crowd?
In their minds, there's some reason for it. I'll come down from the crowd. That way they don't see which way I come out. They don't know whether I'm a babyface or a heel or some deep meaning that nobody... It's just like, what the fuck? Hurry up, pal. Take those bleachers 2 at a time.
It doesn't matter where you come from. It's the heel tunnel, Cody.
Well...
That was the funniest visual ever of the people going nuts for the Lucha Brothers running out there. Because whatever you want to say, the AEW fans love the Lucha Brothers. And Alex... People are going nuts.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that Cody at the same time is being ignored as he comes down through the crowd, and it takes him forever to get there.
But he wasn't completely ignored. Once the people saw him and realized he was there, they started booing him.
Well, that's true. That is true. Good point.
Anyway, so Pac's physical work as far as his move doing is mostly okay. His psychology is not there. And I don't know what the fuck. Every time he's got a good match going, he starts either going to the top rope like he should be, Tiger Mask. At the way he looks, he doesn't need it. Or he's doing a ridiculously too big move in mid-match and it all goes to shit. You can't follow it, whatever. That was our TV main event, but we had one more thing coming up on the program. The big contract signing. So now, oh, fuck. Remember, every once in a while on wrestling down through the years, you'd see the big contract signing, and so that was good, and usually something happened to juice the match up, and everybody, sometimes would remember it for a while. How many contract signings on WWE and AEW television have we seen in just the last 3 months? Every week there's a contract signing. They rely on the same 5 things over and over again. So this one's between Hangman Adam Page and Twinkle Toes McFingerbang. Twinkle Toes was wearing a purple suit with white socks. Looked very pleasant. It's the old mix-up again. Do you want to go to Cox's and get a seersucker suit, or do you get mixed up and go to Sears instead? But they were trying to again tell this story. We were friends, we were partners, we were family. And there was more about Adam Page's failures and sorrows. And I was, at that point, looking at the crowd and go, you know what? These people, they actually bought this phony, goofy, wimpy backstory that they saddled poor Adam Page with, which must indicate the difference in generations from 20 years ago, when a guy that has been booked and presented like Adam Page would have probably been pulled into the crowd and cuffed around about the head and face and kicked out the back door by the fans for all of the sorrow and loss and failure and mopiness and everything. But somehow, is it just that this generation that the comedy wrestling appeals to wants people that are sad and morose and mopey and flawed and wishy-washy and whatever the fuck?
I can't answer that, but as I'm sure we'll talk about tomorrow when we record the pay-per-view review, that what we said a while back ended up being correct. That Adam Page is being booked to be a fall-down drunk, and that his life only comes back together when he gives up alcohol, and it appears that's exactly what this is.
Anyway, Page speaks well. It's not him, it's just the material, but at least he had some confidence here. But then, of course, Twinkle Toes offers a handshake, Adam Page accepts it, and right at that point, did we refer to this 2 or 3 weeks ago on the program? And I thought they listened, so they should have been taking notes. Maybe Tony didn't have people in his legal department taking notes of our program, or they could have avoided stooging off their angle. The handheld cameraman in the ring for the contract signing walks across in front of the shot of the other handheld man. Did you see that and instantly go, okay, here we are? Or did you just think it was a production fuck-up?
As soon as I saw a cameraman, I thought it was an angle. Well,
okay.
I know it was an angle because it was a contract signing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And so Twinkle Toes and Adam Page shake hands, and Twinkle Toes goes to step out of the ring, and the cameraman from behind nails Page with his camera, and it's Don Fallis. And he unmasks, and they could have done the same thing by going to the hard camera wide shot, post to post, right for the cameraman to start charging, because then nobody would have been able to see it ahead of time coming, but everybody would have seen it when it happened and would have been surprised by it. But they had to tease, oh, here, watch this cameraman. And then they cut to a shot the cameraman is not in, so he comes out of the shot to hit Page with the camera. But they'd already showed him, obviously. If they'd have made it look accidental by going to the hard camera shot post to post, and he just happened to be in it, and boom, would accomplish the same thing, but they had to fucking show us. Anyway, Page gets juice a little bit at what we used to call in the locker room a pap smear. But it was enough where it was running down where Twinkle Toes could sign the contract in Adam Page's blood, which I'm not sure. We might need to consult with Stephen P. New, but I'm not sure it would hold up in court against a legal challenge.
Why not?
Well, because, first of all, he was signing it in blood and not black ink, which we know black and blue ink is preferable for contracts, but also because it was completely illegible. It wasn't really a signature. It was just a smear of blood.
However,
so he could claim it was forged.
He's on video doing it and stating that his intention was to sign the contract with the foreign substance that I agree with you is not black or blue ink. I think we have an argument on our side.
Well, I don't know. I think we're going to have to call Steven on this because, for one way or another, if this is not legal, I think we should nullify the result of the pay-per-view match. Because for heaven's sake, you can't have an illegal contract signing for a world championship match in AEW and have it signed in blood and not challenge that legally.
Well, that was...
I would think Phallus would come up with that.
Well, maybe, and you guys...
Phallus would come up with a transition if he was here right now, I bet. But I'll just say this. Boy, Don, I remember when you used to have a full head of hair.
There it is.
I remember when Don Phallus used to have a full head of hair, and right now, what he's got is slicker than a hard-boiled egg. But folks, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yes.
Did you know, Brian, 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35 years old. And since Don is past 50 now, it's gotten extreme. More than 50 million men in the United States suffer from male pattern baldness, and there are only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss, and Keeps offers the generic versions of both of them. So not only do you not get jacked out of all of your money, the treatment start at just $10 a month because they offer the generic versions, but they offer the only ones that are approved by the FDA. Is that the Food and Drug Administration, last time I checked?
I believe so, yes.
Well, it ought to be Food, Drug, and Hair Products Administration, FDHPA, because they're approving these hair products also. Folks, if you want to keep what you've got, use Keeps, because you can reverse the trend that you're on currently. You'll not only keep the hair that you've got on your head, but you will see slowly and gradually those other ones peeking out from underneath the soil up there on top of your head and springing into the daylight and the sunshine, thanks to the folks at Keeps. Convenient virtual doctor consultations, medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months so you don't have to leave home. Discreet packaging, proven results, more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. And as we've said before, 7 in the Tokyo Dome. Have you noticed more Japanese people have hair than are bald? Where it's reversed over here?
What?
That's because
I have not noticed this, no.
It gets more stars in the Tokyo Dome. If you're ready to take action and prevent your hair loss, or if you want to just accost somebody on the street and rub some of this shit on their head because they're going bald, they'll thank you later. Go to keeps.com/JCE to receive your first month of treatment for free. Keeps, Keeps, keeps.com/JCE to get your first month of treatment for free. What do you think would happen if you just tackled somebody on the street, held them down, and rubbed some Keeps on their head and told them to thank you later?
I think you'd be arrested, and rightly so, and let's not do that. Of course, Keeps is for you and you alone.
So
buy it and use it.
Keeps your Keeps to yourself.
That's right. Keeps your Keeps to yourself.
Don't hand me no lines and keeps your Keeps to yourself. All right.